So I was about to sit down to review another paper, another frankly pretty good paper about fitness and about mental health, and it was remarkably similar to the previous paper that I had edited. And what occurred to me though was that I don't think that the sentence level issues were the primary issues of either paper. And so because there's been three of these now where I've gone through and I've talked about sort of the semantic value of each sentence, and we've worked on improving that, and I've talked about citations and formatting. We've done all of that, right? And so there's a sort of a bigger picture thing that I wanted to look at. And I'm on the fence about it, because the truth is that I'm not a mental health professional. I am not someone who is qualified outside the field of writing, and so any advice that I have to give there, it feels almost like an abuse of power, because my authority comes from my position as someone who gives you grades, and I don't want to abuse that authority and range into areas outside my given area of expertise. That said, part of being someone who studies writing and how to write essays is that essays can cover generally any topic, right? And because they can cover so many different fields, what you end up looking at isn't an individual essay itself if you're doing it purely academically, but rather you're looking at the process by which people analyze an idea. And anytime you see a trend, you should note it. And so basically the trend that I'm seeing is, especially from the young men who are writing essays for my classes, the trend that I'm seeing is some kind of realization that they have to be responsible for a great deal. They have to be physically fit, and they have to be intellectually fit, and they have to be to balance their diets and their routines, and they have to have their schedules organized. And if they do all of this, then they can maintain some kind of balance, some semblance of organization, right? And that's, I don't want to discourage that, because it's not wrong. It's true. It's very true that life is difficult, and organizing your time and taking care of your body and making sure that your mental health is taken care of as well, that you're actually looking after yourself. These are all good things, right? And so I don't want to discourage that. At the same time, what it seems to me is the case is that each of these papers has adopted a stance that when mental health or personal individual physical health is lacking, that is because the given author in these cases has done something wrong, that the author has failed in some capacity. And it's a tricky sort of balance to strike, because on the one hand, you can only control that which you can control, right? I can't be born in a different time. You can't be born in a different time. I can't have a different community, and you can't have a different community. We are given the circumstances that we're given, and that's the truth, right? And so advice that says, hey, by the way, just be born to rich parents. Don't be born to parents that enable you to do things that are negative. That's not good advice, right? It's kind of like those solutions to global warming that say, if only everybody did X, Y, or Z, right? But of course, everyone won't, right? That's not a real solution. And so I'm sympathetic to the idea that you have to take complete and total ownership of your circumstances, right? And I think that is fundamentally true, right? I think it's fundamentally true that if your life is going to change for the better, it has to be because you actually make those changes, right? You have to be the one who steps in and says, I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to behave differently. I'm going to change my habits. It has to come from you. It can't come from anywhere else. But at the same time, I want to make sure that we are dismissing the idea that seems to be present. It's the counterpoint seems to be, my life was unpleasant or bad, or my health was unpleasant or bad because of some individual moral failing. And this is the tough part, because I don't want to absolve anybody of their personal failings, right? If something is up to you, it's up to you, and that's how it is. But at the same time, you didn't invent capitalism. You didn't invent the incredibly unnutritious food that stocked the grocery store shelves. You didn't invent intergenerational or multi-generational poverty. You didn't invent the kinds of, lack of access to school gym equipment. You didn't invent the need to have a job during high school so that you could pay bills at your house, and that created stress and a lack of time that led you to overeat. Like, you didn't invent any of these things. And so on the one hand, it's true. Yes, this is all difficult. This is all, it's all up to you if you want to change it. Your personal responsibility for your own life can't be contradicted. Yes, it's up to you. But I want to make sure that, in as much is appropriate, or to whatever degree I can communicate it clearly, that you don't simultaneously feel the need to take ownership of things that are outside of your ownership. And so what this leads us to from an essay perspective is, what do you do when you're writing an essay about self-improvement? How do you strike that balance? And truthfully, I can't answer that question, because I think I've just spent a good deal of time explaining why it's so hard, and it's tremendously hard. But my hope is that you will have it somewhere in the back of your mind that there is a kind of balance to be struck, to say, yes, I'm the only person who can resolve these things. True. But because I'm the only person who can resolve them does not mean that I am their source or their originator or their progenitor, right? A problem can emerge in my life that has nothing to do with me or anything that I have done, and simultaneously, I'm the only person who can address it or resolve it. Those two things need to exist together. And this is why I love good essays. This is, I guess this is kind of the essay side of it. If you do any research on essays, one of the first things you'll find is essay means attempt in French, or trial in French, right? That people are trying out an idea, whatever, right? The idea there being that an essay is just you working with an idea to see if it makes sense or not. And it's so cliche. Like, I roll my eyes at it, and I should. It's so cliche, but it's a beautiful idea at the same time, right? Some cliches are cliches because they're great, and this is a great one. The simple idea that it is possible to, through text, work your way through a thought is tremendously important. And so, conversely, the idea that you might adapt that text to a specific audience, which is something I've told you to do, right? You have to adapt your essay to an audience. That you might adapt that text to an audience in a way that undermines the truth, the veracity of your idea, is antithetical to the essay. And so, I know this has been so roundabout, but it's this is the thing that I think is probably easiest to say from an essay perspective, that you can't lie. You have to tell the truth. And you need to make sure that the truth that you're telling is not one that absolves human history of responsibility for its actions and places all of that on you, you know. Yeah. I think that'll cover it. Yeah. We'll do another one tomorrow. I'll go to the next one, and I know we've looked at a lot of intros. We'll look at conclusion. I think Tuesday is a good thing. We'll do that. We'll look at a conclusion, and we'll move on from there. But yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.